Hey, this is the Movie Buff Show. I'm Daniel Prinn.
Hi, I'm Arpit Nayak.
Hello, and I'm Ajitpal Singh. I'm the writer-director of Fire in the Mountain. It's a feature film that had its premiere at Sundance International Film Festival this year. And I'm glad to be doing this interview with both of you. And
So I'll start with my first question. Your story, which we both know, but I think audience should know it as well. That what inspired you to become a filmmaker, and can you tell us a bit about your journey so far?
what inspired me to be a filmmaker was a film by Francis Truffaut called 400 Blows. Um,
Okay.
so before that, there are many other things which led to that decision. And I was a good student, not always, but from 8th standard onwards I was coming first or second in my class. And I scored good numbers in 10th and 12th, so I was also good. So I decided that I'll try for engineering. I hated being doctor, like seeing sick people and blood and everything around me. So I thought I'll also become an engineer. And I took science. And I went to this new school, Rajasthan India School. And I think it was around the same time that we were going to Punjab in the train. And at Ratlam or some other station, it was a long journey, like 36 hours at that time. So uh, earlier I was a kid, so I would spend time with my brother and sister and my parents talking, and but once you're a teenager, you kind of start not liking your parents that much. You want to have some your own privacy. You want to do your own things, and then 36 hours, like whoa, how am I going to spend the 36 hours? So I think I bought a novel by Premchand at the Ratlam station, and that was my first experience with the literature. I always used to read. It's not like I didn't read before that, but it was mostly adventure and ghost stories and comics and this and that. But that was the first time I was reading literature, and it was Godan, like that thick book. And I finished it in 36 hours, and I was like, whoa, like it had an impact on me. And then I started reading more of Hindi literature, and my numbers started dropping because I was not reading my classwork, I was reading stories. So I didn't score so well in 12th, and I couldn't get into engineering college. So the second best was to go to a science college and become a scientist or professor or something. And that's how I got into St. Javier College. And I didn't even know at that time, Arpit, that St. Javier College is supposed to be the best science college of Ahmedabad. It just I
Yeah.
had good numbers, and somebody told me go to MG Science, and I went to MG Science. And there somebody told me, why don't you also apply in St. Javier College? So I went to St. Javier College also. Like I used to, like you won't believe, Arpit, till 12th I had never seen CG Road. Okay, I was a uh, son of a lower middle class security guard living in D cabin. Only had a cycle, and I only knew 20 kilometers around that area where I went on cycle. And there was no internet, and we didn't even have landline phone.
Yeah.
So I knew nothing about these places. So I came to St. David's College, and the college had a lot of extracurricular activities,
Yeah.
you know, and I don't know, how I got it, how I had it, I have no idea. But I started writing plays, you know.
Huh.
So I started writing plays, and then when I finished my graduation, I at least knew that I didn't want to be a scientist or professor or do MBA or MCA. Nothing against them, but I didn't want to do any of it. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like I wanted to tell stories, that much I knew, but how? As a writer, as a poet, as an actor, in theater, in cinema, in animation, I had no idea. And uh, uh, and why I had no idea was because actually I wanted to be a writer, I suppose. Okay, at that time. But at home, we spoke Punjabi. Outside, I spoke Gujarati with my friends. I studied in Hindi medium school and I went to English medium college. So by the time I finished college, I had no command on any language. I knew a little bit of everything. Like I had no command on Hindi or Gujarati or Punjabi or English. I like, I can't become a writer. Like I don't know languages. So it was around that time that I went to French Film Festival, Alliance Française, and I saw 400 blows. I'm like, whoa, you can make films like this. Like you can tell this kind of story by cinema. I want to be a filmmaker. And at that time, I thought by next year I will be a filmmaker. And it took me another 15, 20 years, I think. Uh, so yeah, that has been my journey to be a filmmaker.
Well,
Uh,
that's a great story. Nice. Now, did you want me to jump in with mine, Arpit, or do you want to ask another one?
Yeah, sure, sure. You can jump in with your.
Okay. All right. So, as Canadian, one thing I thought was very interesting to me was learning about this little tourism aspect of your film and how you brought that into it with just Chandra, just trying to get people to come up to their little hotel. Sorry, I can't
yeah,
remember, Swiss hotspot, I think. Or
yeah, Switzerland.
okay. So I
Yeah.
thought that was very interesting. What inspired that aspect of the film, and how did you think to bring that into it?
So that was a, can we call it a gimmick? Uh, maybe, maybe not. But it was like, like that village, that area, those culture and customs and everything. It's so remote for us, like we don't know much about it. So now if I'm making this film for people like us, people like you, people like me who don't know that much about that place. So the question I had was like, how do I make them experience this world with curiosity,
Okay.
you know? And I thought we all come here as a tourist. So what if I bring my audience as a tourist into this film? But after a while, they will not remain a tourist anymore. They will become participant. So it was a device that I thought I'll attempt. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, I'll edit it out. But but I think it just worked.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's a really cool way to look at it. And like, I feel like this is a good way just to talk about the cinematography, like how you lead us up the mountain with the tracking shot. So can you talk about doing like setting up that scene and just the cinematography in general?
Yeah. So it's like, when you go to these kind of places as tourists, uh, in the beginning, it's like your gauge is like, wow, look so beautiful. I want to live here. And then if you try to live there, you will find shit is fucking difficult. There are this problem, there is that problem, there is that problem, there is that problem. So I wanted to use camera for this kind of visual journey, like that it's really beautiful, but don't live here. Like I can't live here.
Okay.
So that's how the film starts with such great beauty shots and everything, and slowly, it introduces you to the difficulties of living in a place like that.
Okay. And
Uh,
also what was it like shooting on the mountain? Because I found that such an interesting contrast to like the big city and just being with nature.
ah, what was the experience like? It was tough, difficult to shoot there, because first you have to take a, like, for locations, not location research and everything. It's an independent film, small budget film, So for the pre-production and research and everything, we didn't have budget for flight tickets. So which
Okay.
meant I had to travel 14, 15 hours from Bombay to Delhi by train. and then take another 8 hours of train from Delhi to Kathgodam, and then take 14 hours of taxi from Kathgodam to Munsiari.
Wow.
So it took 2 days to reach there. And um, then on the first day of shooting, I remember our lights didn't come. Our sound was there, but the battery of the sound recorder were in the truck. And that truck got stuck on the road because the road ahead of that truck had a landslide and the road vanished. So the truck tried to go back and take another route. Then you won't believe the road behind the truck also vanished.
Oh no.
So our truck, along with other vehicle, was standing on a patch of land, no road ahead and no road behind.
Oh wow.
Okay, so first day we shot without lights and without sound.
That must have been interesting.
Yeah, so that's how it was shooting on the mountains.
Okay, so
I
challenge.
have just another question to just add to that thing.
Sure.
So was Uttarakhand was always your choice, or did you had any other preference?
So see, the idea of the film basically, it was like I made a short film called Raman Kammat, and Ajay Rai,
Hmm.
who eventually produced Fire in the Mountain, he saw Ramat Kammat and he liked it and he wanted me to do a feature film with him. But his condition was that we will shoot it in Uttarakhand. And I was like, why Uttarakhand? And he was like, because I can control the budget in Uttarakhand. I know people. I said, okay, Uttarakhand. And then at the same time, what was happening was um, my cousin sister, Amarjit Kaur, she died because her husband didn't take her to the hospital, thinking she's possessed by a ghost. So that incident remained with me that how can somebody in 21st century India think like that she's possessed by a ghost? And also I knew that my cousin sister, she was the first person in my from my father's side of the family who went to college. Like my father only studied till 10th and every other person in my family never went to college. She was the first one. And she inspired many of us to pursue studies. So I knew that she wouldn't have made that choice of going to a tantric. Tantric means, Arpit, how can we translate tantric? Uh, shaman. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
knew that she wouldn't make the same choice. So that incident was playing on my mind. And at the same time, it was 2018, and it has been 2 years of my marriage life also. And I was also observing that uh, certain not so nice things about myself, which were like if my mother or my sister or my wife, if they gave me an advice, I wouldn't take it so easily, like, okay. But if the same advice came from a man, I would take it much more seriously. And that my wife started pointing this thing out to me. And also I started noticing these things. And that was like, whoa, like, I mean, I call myself a liberal person who is well educated, but look, I have such deep rooted biases. So I had a lot of question, that questions like I told you, like how can we uh, allow somebody to die thinking that she's possessed by a ghost? And at the same time, I had other more question that why, despite being well educated and reading literature and reading about women and everything and talking about equal rights of women, I have biases, which means probably we all have biases. So all those questions led to developing this story. Uh, Initially, I had thought of doing it in Punjab, from where I come from and from where my cousin sister was. Like Punjab, she was married in Punjab, so I thought I'll do it in Punjab. But then I went on a research trip to Uttarakhand and I found about Jagar, which is the climax of the film. And that was like, whoa, this is like cinematic uh, wonder, cinematic marvel that I will not get in Punjab.
Agreed.
So then I was also convinced that I will set it up in Uttarakhand. And then it was, I think I did on and off 5 months of research in Uttarakhand to write this screenplay. Yeah.
Okay, so just another question I'll ask. I won't go to the scene, but I think you will understand which scene I'm talking about, because I'll come up from the sentence you just used, that you yourself felt that you will listen to a man more than your own females around your
Yeah.
family. So what was that inspiration of one of the scene? I'm talking about the scene where he goes to this guy, and that guy told him who is the man of the house, who owns the house. Was this inspired you to write that particular sequence?
I not really this. I mean, this entire film came from that experience.
Hmm.
But like many scene, I mean, the entire theme is from this experience. But
Hmm.
that particular scene was uh, the reason for that scene, the inspiration for that, or not rather the inspiration, the reason, the thematic reason for that scene to be there was that um, uh, see, the traditional society, okay, the conflict in the film is about tradition versus modernity. So traditional society versus the modernity that is arriving. So
Hmm.
a traditional society survives on a hierarchical structure,
Hmm.
and in that hierarchy, the priest is at the top,
Hmm.
and then comes Kshatriya and other man, and that's the hierarchy that the traditional society wants to maintain because it benefits them. So if there is a woman like Chandra who is challenging that traditional society, who will be affected is not just the husband but that priest too.
Hmm.
So he is encouraging him to put her in the place. That was the reason for that scene to be there in the film.
Okay, got it. Daniel, you like to ask one question?
Yeah, sure. It might have to do with what we were just talking about, but like I found Chandra's like work ethic and just her as a person like inspiring. So what was it like creating like such a strong female character? And was she inspired by anyone?
Yeah, she's a combination of my mother and wife.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They can kick your ass, both of them.
So what was it like creating her?
ah, what was like creating them? Facing lots of my biases about my mother. There has been incident from my past when I was really angry with her for making the choices that she made. And then when you write something that is inspired by her and you revisit those incidents and you understand that incident from her point of view. Because so far I was angry on her because I only thought of it from my point of view.
Okay.
And that's where writing can be very healing. It can heal you. Also, it can make you more empathetic towards the world because it forces you to experiences the world from the point of view of the character that you're writing about. And sometimes you end up writing character whom you absolutely hate in real life. But when you start writing them, you start seeing the world the way they see. And you like, no, no. I mean, I experienced that event as a wrong event. But if I think like her, it was perfectly normal. She made a good, wise decision at that time.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what happened to our relationships. I mean, yeah, I understand her much better than I did before writing this.
Is that like therapeutic? Because it kind of sounds like you did some soul searching with that.
It is therapeutic. It is therapeutic, but it's not like those self-help book that you write about it and you stop fighting. No, I still fight with her.
At least you gotta
I still,
keep that
I still,
consistency.
I still have issues with her.
Okay. I'd also love to ask, like, what was it like casting your film?
Sorry.
Oh, I just asked, what was it like casting your film?
So Vinamartha, who played Chandra, I had worked with her on you're talking about her character or overall casting?
In general, but if we want to
In
start
general,
with Chandra,
in,
that's fine.
in general, in general, yeah. So, I mean, the uh, the challenge was to kind of cast people uh, when they act. They should look like they are not acting, as if they are from that place. They as if they walk like they are from that village, and a lot of things goes into creating that believability, and it starts with the casting, of course, like,
Okay.
yeah, you know and so I knew that she's committed. I knew that she's dedicated. I knew that she will give me 20-30 days before the shooting to get into the skin of the character. And also, she's talented. We had worked before on a short film. So it was very simple. I mean, casting Chandra was the simplest thing to do. I knew that she's playing this character. Dharam, who is played by Chandan Bisht, he's from Uttarakhand, from the mountains, and also a trained actor from NST. Uh, so he knew the lingo and language, body language, and everything. So it was also easy casting him. Uh, Kamla was difficult to cast because we wanted to cast somebody from local area,
Okay.
probably somebody who is not an actor. And we kept scouting for somebody for 3 months, 2 months, and we found one woman who was not an actor, and we casted her, but then she found a job in a hospital, you
Okay.
know, and I was like, and she's really still wanted to play this character, but I felt really bad, because I knew that she can play this character of Kamla in my film because she is very much like that character. But after this film, she will not get any more acting gigs because she's not an actor. She's a real person who's going to play a real person in my film. So I didn't want her to lose her job just for the fun of 30 days shooting.
Okay.
So we told her no, that you should not do it. Uh, and then we casted Sonal Jha. She is a professional actor, uh, but I had also worked with her before, so that's how we did her casting. And then apart from Sonal and these three main, everybody else is from the mountain, and
Okay.
many of them are not actors. Like both the children are acting for the first time, but to create a believable character, I think two things that matters the most is the production design and the costumes and
Yeah.
hair, actually, and the hair also. So uh, we didn't have new costumes, like we didn't age costume. Usually what you do, you buy a new costume and you age them. What we did, we went to the village and we opened a stall. We asked the villager that you can come here and take the new clothes in return of your old clothes. So
Smart.
we had a lot of old clothes that we washed many times, and all the actors are wearing those old costume. That's where the believability starts to come in.
Oh, that's great.
Uh,
And you can really buy it. The believability. It feels very natural. So that's awesome.
So, your film speaks about many important subjects like superstition, man masculinity, feminism, politics around the small town. So, how were you able to compile all these subjects, and what was, the writing process like?
uh, Arpit, in that way, I'm very extremely lucky actually. See, I come from a village in Punjab. Like till the time I was my first 7-8 years, I spent in a small village in Punjab. And then 2 years we spent in Batinda, in a city in Punjab, because the village where I was growing up till 7-8 years didn't have a school. So I
Mhm.
had to go in a tempo from my village to a city, and many times the tempo driver would not come, so I would miss the school. So my father decided to shift to a city in Punjab. So we shifted to a small city in Punjab, and we stayed there for 2 years. And then we came to Gujarat after Operation Blue Star, where like Because of the curfew,
Hmm.
we suffered big losses actually. So my father came to look for a job in Gujarat, and he found a job as a security guard in IFCO, Kalol.
Hmm.
In Kalol. And the township of IFCO was in a village called Shertha. And this township had limited number of houses. So there were no
Hmm.
house for us inside the township. So again, I ended up living in a village in Gujarat for first 16 years of my life. So 16 years of my life I spent in the villages in India, in Punjab and Gujarat. Then we shifted to Ahmedabad, on the periphery of Ahmedabad, which is like Sabarmati, D cabin, which is the lower income strata, like immigrants and those kind of things. And then, of course, we shifted to the middle of the city, and in terms of money, we started doing much better because of restaurant and all that. So I would call it great luck that I come from, uh, that I have experienced poverty, middle class, lower middle class, village life, city life, those kind of things. And that gives me this insight into what is going on in the smaller town or in the bigger town. And I still have my cousin brothers who are living in the villages. My sister is still in a small town. So I'm continuously connected. So I don't have to work hard to understand what is going on. It just comes to me.
Got it.
Yeah.
And also, I love the humor that you have shown in the film, that it's very situational, at the same time, very subtle. So how did you achieve the humor in the film?
Yeah. So the root for this humor, I'll tell you where it comes. Like I have seen, I will not name anyone, but I have seen a lot of filmmakers from India uh, making films about struggle and poverty and all that. And
Hmm.
most of them, if not all, most of them come from very privileged background.
Hmm.
So when they write about people, uh, weaker strata of the society, they write as if uh, people always had difficult and tough time. They were always crying and struggling and shouting and yelling, which is far from the truth. Okay,
Agreed.
like
Agreed.
like like I come from a family where sometime we didn't have 3 meals to eat. Okay,
Hmm.
but we had good time.
Hmm.
Like when we shifted from Punjab to Gujarat, uh, I love Gujaratis, okay. But when we shifted from Punjab to Gujarat, that was a time when the country in general hated Sikhs because somebody from my community killed Indira Gandhi. So
Agreed.
we were called terrorists. Like my class teacher and my classmates have called me terrorist. But despite of all of it, I had friends and I had those moments of laughter and so I had always decided like when I will make the film, it will feel like how the life felt to me when we were struggling. It was not always just like struggle and struggle and struggle. No, there is happiness, there is beauty. So I wanted to bring some of it in various forms. Yeah,
Okay.
And I think me and Daniel both love this thing, that how you have shown this influence of TikTok, that that even the such a small towns like this are also getting
yeah, yeah,
influence, and they just want to
yeah.
also do the dance, and they also
Mm.
wants the likes and everything. So what was the inspiration for that thing?
Because when I went to the villages, everybody has smartphones. Like people don't have
Okay.
electricity, people don't have scooter, um, uh, they don't buy clothes, but they want, especially the kids, yeah, a teenager, they want to buy a smartphone. And so I saw it and I experienced it, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to use it. It sounds like such a nice. And then actually, this is how I got to know about TikTok, by going for a research trip in a village where these kids were sitting on a mountain and they were watching video after video after video. I'm like, okay, let me also see. And then I dug deeper into this world of TikTok, and it was hilarious. I mean, not always hilarious, but like you could also find some great talent on TikTok. So I thought, okay, I mean, as a storyteller, we are also historians. Like we document time. So I thought, okay, if this is what that time feels today, I'm going to document it. So I decided to include it.
Yeah, and it feels really nice. I love the humor, especially that.
Yeah, me too.
It's hilarious.
Now, I'll just jump in with one for the writing of the film, kind of with what Arpit was. I don't know if it was with what Arpit was talking about, but since we were on the writing, I have a couple specific scenes that I liked. Though for this one, there's just kind of my interpretation with the Prakash like not leaving his chair, and I know we talked about it like pre-chat, but I just what I had taken from it was just kind of a symbolic thing, and I just wrote down that like I thought it was kind of representing like those who can help themselves but choose not to. And I thought that was kind of applicable to the father as well. So I was just curious about what your thoughts were on that, if that was ever in mind, or if you just wanted to talk about that part.
Ah, I mean, you are right when you say like, that sometimes we can't leave behind what stops us, like it's a, it can be a very long, long, long journey. And that was the reason. And it's more like me actually. I mean, I made my first feature film at the age of 44. I mean, what took me so long? Because nobody was stopping me. It was me who was coming in my own ways, because I'm built in certain way. I carry certain insecurities. I carry certain experiences. I carry certain trauma, and we kind of remain there, like tied to uh, safe, not even safe, but a space that we feel is a safe, because we don't want to face the world, because world is really um harsh to everybody, not just to Prakash or not just to me. I mean, it's also beautiful, but it's only beautiful when you are ready to experience it. And to go and experience it, you have to uh, let understand your fears and all the thing that you're carrying inside. Once you unlock them, then you are a traveler, but not till the time you don't unlock them. I mean, that has been my biggest learning. Like, you stop yourself, nobody else. Sometimes we also fall in a trap of just blaming ourselves for our situation, which is also not true, you know. So, I, so it's a very it's a contradictory thing that I'm saying. I'm aware of that. One hand, I'm saying that you stop yourself, and on the other hand, I'm saying like it's not always you, but that's how life is contradictory. So sometimes what happens is that uh, we just blame ourselves for our problem, that because I'm like that, because I'm like that, because I'm like that, because I'm like that. And but sometimes it was not our fault. It was actually
Yeah,
somebody else's fault.
fair.
But what we can do is that we can just try to understand how it affected us. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like,
Okay.
it's not your or my fault that we are held back, you know. It's also fault of other people. Other people are responsible, but the only way to free yourself is to understand how they affected you, and then change it. I mean, and it's a slow process. It won't happen overnight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I get you. Now, I just had I'm got I had a one that was kind of like with what we're talking about. I thought it was just an interesting thought, just with like you're 44 and you're making your first feature film. So I just I had it written down, just if you could talk about the idea of never being too late to follow your dreams and your passion.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have the name of the film, but it's a French film. I forgot the name. And I think it's something called Watchmaker in the title, or maybe the character is a watchmaker in the film. And the director made his first film when he was almost 50,
Okay.
you know. And I read his interview, and he said something really beautiful, which was like that he actually started experiencing the world when he was almost 30 years old. So of course, it was going to take him another 15, 20 years to make the film. And then there was a therapist that I used to go, and she asked me a very, very good question when I was dealing with my own insecurities and everything. She asked me a very good question that how old are you? And I said, I am, that time, how old was I? I was 39. I said, I'm 39 and I'm going to be 40. And I have done nothing in my life. And she said, like, how old are you? I was like, 39. She smiled and was like, I'm asking, when did you decide that you want to be a filmmaker? I said, that's like 9 years back. She said, you're 9 years old.
Oh, that's cool.
You know, don't carry that burden of being 39. You're just 9 years old.
Okay.
So yeah, so I made my first feature film when I was 9 and plus another 5, 14 years old. That's an achievement.
For sure. Either way, it is
Yeah,
an
yeah,
achievement. So
yeah.
that's great. Did you want to jump in with yours, Arpit?
Sure. So I'll just, pick up the one conversation that you and him both having before this question about the life and everything. So, I want to ask this question that what are the three things that your success and failure taught you as a filmmaker as well as the individual?
I think failure teach you more, much, much, much more than success. And I'm so glad that I had failure before I found success. Because what happens, the failure really break you. Like in your head, we are some genius filmmaker. You know, you're going to win Oscar and this and that, and then you make your first short film and it goes nowhere. And then you make your second short film that also goes nowhere. And then you make your third short film, which goes somewhere, but not really much. And then you make your fourth short film, which really travels. But by that time, you're so used to the rejection and failures that when the success come, you also look at success as, yeah, okay, something in my journey. Like, of course, you celebrate it. It's not like you're sad about it or you don't celebrate it. You celebrate it. Like how you are affected by a failure that you are sulking for some time. You celebrate success for some time, but it's not something that goes to your head then if you have experienced failure. I think it's like, they are uh, pa- two sides of the coin. Without failure, there is no success. And everything is in contrast. What is success? I mean, if you don't have a failure, then what is success? Success is something that comes after failures, you know, and then more failures comes after success, so that you can have another level of success. So they are same. We should all start treating them same. Probably we should start celebrating both of them actually. Also celebrate your failures, because failure happens when you try something that you didn't know. Like, you cannot fail at drinking the water. You will drink the water. But you can fail at drinking petrol. I mean, I'm not saying that you drink petrol. I mean, that's a silly thing to say, but you can only fail if you're trying something that you have not tried before.
Going back to the story a bit, I thought one thing I thought was great with Prakash and Chandra, and how they pass the flower every day, and that one day Prakash doesn't pick the flower. Like, it's just such an effective way to show that he's not with her at the like not on her side at that moment. So like, how did you think about that? It's like so great.
That credit goes to Sudarshan Juvyal. He was the dialogue writer of the film. So I had the scene where she comes down that path every day and she stops at certain place and she looks at the landscape. And me and Sudarshan were walking down that path almost every day. And one day he suggested, Ajit, I think we should do this. Like that uh, he puts flowers in her head. And I was like, in the beginning, no, that's very filmy. Like, it's like very filmy. But then I kept thinking, and I was like, no, he makes sense. I mean, if we make it a ritual that he always puts the flower in her head and then he won't put it one time, that will really hit us hard.
Mhm.
And that's how, so it's thanks to Sudarshan that he came up with that idea. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. No, it's very, very effective. So
Uh,
glad you put it in the film.
thank you.
Arpit, did you have another one, or did you just want me to ask my
Yeah,
last one?
sure. Oh, sure. I'll ask my last question. You know that in your film, each character represents some element of the life. If we talk about Dharam in particular, he talks about how ones get influence at the same time, how one has a softer side. You know, if we see Chandra, we see her strong head. Also, she has ends. You know, just because his son can't walk, we see the sister, who shows us the urge of the age, and the incident, how that gives the trauma to a person. If we see like Prakash in particular, he shows us what bully does to a person and what affection at the same time does to a person. And if we see the daughter, we see her how the daughter looked upon by a mother, even though she's getting such a great success, and how she's falling with her age. So, how were you able to achieve, all this character and this all element? I like to know that.
Uh, by having contradictions. I think in today's world, when the world is being so polarized, whether it's US or India or most of the country, like we are so polarized, like left has gone too left, right has gone too to right. And we have started thinking that people who are not liberal or who are on the left uh, cannot act like they are people from the right, or people on the right cannot act or understand people on the left. But it's not really true. It's far from true. I have known people in my life with whom, if you speak, you may feel that they are right wing fundamentalist, but sometimes they behave as if they are more liberal than me, you know and at the same with the people who are on the left, and they suddenly end up behaving really like a fundamentalist. So we all have contradiction, all of us have contradiction, and that is what makes the character a three-dimensional human being. Like, most of these writing books will teach you that a character has a trait, he has a aim, he has certain qualities, he will act only like that, and when he doesn't act like that, he's out of the character. I don't think there is anything like that. uh I think to make character go out of the character once in a while actually makes a better character, you know so that's how I created all these characters. Like, I gave them need, I gave them a role. I placed them at certain place in the spectrum of characterization. But then also I did something which was really, you would think, no, they will not do this, but they do it. Like Chandra, if you think, she's a very modern woman. I mean, you know, she thinks of education, she thinks of road, she doesn't believe in the shamanic ritual, but she doesn't want her daughter to study. Dharam, whom we think is very traditional, is very happy about her his daughter coming first in the school, and he doesn't want her to drop out of the school. And this is how most of us are. I mean, it's the it's we are living in a very sad time that, uh, not blaming any individual leader. I mean, we have reached here because of the mistake of many, 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 many of them. There's the reason why we are where we are, how polarized we have become, how we have completely stopped trying to understand other people with a different kind of point of view. So, yeah.
Then
Yeah.
I would like to ask one.
Yeah, I actually had two here. So my first one was just as your first venture into feature filmmaking, as your first feature. What were some things you learned on the project that you'll take on to the next one?
What one thing that uh, ask what you want, and
Okay.
you usually get it. Like sometimes, I mean, I especially had a problem always thinking like, oh, why would they give it to me? It's going to cost this much of money. It's going to cost these many days. They will not do it for this project, and then you don't ask.
Okay.
You know? And that's the learning I had. Like, if you won't ask, you will not get it.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, I know Arpit has that. He shares a similar sentiment, I think. I'd also love to ask, what was it like premiering at Sundance? That must have been really cool.
I mean, it was virtual first of all,
Oh, sure. Right.
so I was not there. I mean, of course, it still felt special. Uh, but like we were planning that, okay, it's a virtual festival, and after some time, we will throw a party, we will celebrate with everybody else at home, and then I found out that I had thyroid cancer, and then everything was took over by treatment and surgery, and then I came out of surgery, and I think I had surgery on 17th February, and then a radioactive iodine therapy on 3rd March, and on from 10th March I was in Punjab, and from 15th March we were shooting,
Okay.
and that shooting finished in May, and since June I have been editing. So I never really found time to really sit and think about what it meant to be in Sundance. Like, the life went too fast. Like, I have been the busiest person in last 2 years since Corona has happened.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think I worked so hard in my entire life as hard as I have worked in last 2 years. I didn't have time for anything.
Yeah, that's fair. That sounds really nonstop. And you're only what, like 15 or 16 right now?
Yeah.
Overworked.
Yeah.
Arpit, did you have any other questions?
Yeah, I think I have a last question. That I know the answer in a way, but I'll still like to ask. Are you working on anything currently that you can share to us?
So I'm finishing the post production of a series. Uh, it's going to be on Sony Live very soon in October, and I think the teaser is going to come out this Friday or sometime.
Oh,
Uh, till the time teaser doesn't come out, I can't tell you more than this actually.
yeah.
And
Fair enough.
after that, I'm like I want to write and something about Corona. I mean, the way it has affected our country. Like very badly. Like I have seen it. Like personally, my friends have lost their relatives, their younger brothers, and just so sad. Like how inefficient we could be as a country. You know. So yeah, that's something I want to take up at some point. Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
Okay, cool. So this has been the Movie Buff Show with Ajitpal Singh. We appreciate you coming on to chat about your film Fire in the Mountains.
Thank you so much. It was really a very engaging conversation. I think I spoke too much, but I hope I
No,
hope you can.
oh, you're here to talk. Don't worry.
Yeah. It was really great talking to both of you, and yeah, the questions were also good, and yeah, I had a good time. Yeah.